So welcome back to this episode of the Raising Our Vibration podcast, where we explore higher consciousness through spiritual practice. And today, Stephen and I are going to talk about troubles with subtle energy sensations in meditation. So these troubles could be that you're not feeling anything and you want to feel something like subtle energy, or it could be you're feeling too much. You're feeling overwhelmed by subtle energy. And really both of these extremes, both of these sides of the continuum have some common causes. And we're going to talk about those causes and also remedies in this podcast. So this was prompted by one of our students posting an article by Cooper and Lindahl and others from 2021, so a real recent article, about energy-like somatic experiences in meditation, and specifically challenges. So their paper came in the context of a survey of meditation challenges. So that's the first important point to note about this paper, is that the context of it is that people responding were having challenges. So when they responded with challenges with subtle energy meditation, most of it was, oh, this is overwhelming for me. This is hard. I'm starting to feel this electric current or this overwhelming sensation of energy, or even I'm starting to shake, or I'm starting to have my perception altered in a way that makes it hard for me to go about my everyday life, and these kind of challenges. And these could occur in a practice that is specifically about subtle energy, like Stephen and my subtle energy meditation program, if the teachers and the students aren't taking the necessary steps and precautions to have a safe and effective practice. So it is possible that these overwhelming sensations happen in subtle energy meditation, though I will say, and I think, Stephen, you'll concur on this, that most of the time these subtle energy sensations feel wonderful, right? So that it's something that people really look forward to in the practice. And so the idea of challenges, I would say, is more an exceptional case rather than the most common experience. But also, these energy sensations can arise in practices that aren't about subtle energy. And when they arise in those contexts, in say a mindfulness meditation or breath meditation or some kind of meditation that isn't about subtle energy sensations, students often don't know, or practitioners don't know what to do with them. They're not talked about in those contexts. And so when they happen, you may have the experience, well, what is this? And is this okay? And I'm not sure if it feels good. It feels a little overwhelming. And often teachers in those contexts kind of disregard those experiences, or say, oh, just don't pay attention to them. Just keep focusing on your breath, or just stay in open awareness and allow those sensations to come and go, or whatever that particular practice is. So the context within which these experiences happen is really vitally important, because if you have a context where these sensations are known, they're welcomed, there are skillful means to work with them, there's very specific steps in the practice that make these energies, make experiencing these energies feel comfortable, natural. They flow easily. They flow as an expression of who we are, and they transform our consciousness. And they're a beautiful part of practice, but it really is important to know how to work with them skillfully. So, Stephen, I know you were going to make some analogies to other things that we do where we don't think about training and using skillful means and just jump into them. And we experience similar types of consequences.
Thanks, Kevin. Because yes, and I agree with you. The predominant experience in subtle energy meditation has been a very beautiful and a really deep and profound one over the years. And so I'm going to give you everyone who's listening and three analogies. One's in physical sport, which we can all relate to, one's in plant medicine, and one's in the ancient traditions and the way they approach subtle energies. So the first is sport. I was for many years I was part of a Tokyo community where we would attend a very large sporting event, and it was attended by probably 1,000, in excess of 1,000 people competing, right? And they were competing all the way from children to adults. Now, the adults races were mostly parents, and some of the adult races at the top end were very competitive parents who were running 100-meter races, possibly for the first time in about 20 years, right? So they were excited, they were unprepared, they were untrained. So here's my point about training, preparation, and being ready. And every single year, we would have some major accident, somebody pulling a hamstring, somebody face planting on the track, people being taken to hospital with heart palpitations, the whole thing. This whole subtle energy, it doesn't just occur in meditation. It occurs when we do undergo rigorous activity, and especially when we're unprepared. So I'm sure many of you who are listening, if I said to you, you're going to go out and compete in a 100-meter race right now, you'd say, well, hang on, I haven't done that for years and years and years, right? So why wouldn't you adopt the same approach towards really deep and profound subtle energy meditation? Because it's like anything else. It requires a certain preparation and requires a certain perspective as well. You need to actually understand a little bit about the background and the training and so on. So I go on a customary walk every morning and I call it Walk with Andrew Newberg, who's a very well-known researcher in this field, in the field of neuroscience. And he was pointing out, and I thought, again, this is my next analogy in terms of plant medicine, is that he was pointing out that many Westerners go on various trips with plant medicine, anything from psilocybin to ayahuasca and so on. And people are beginning to realize, if they haven't done so already, that there's a lot of preparation and training that you need to do, for example, to go on an ayahuasca journey, that you generally put your life in the hands of a shaman and you get trained appropriately in how to go through the practice. And then if you're going to do it a number of times, you'll actually adopt it as a path. And Andrew describes the importance of this in the analogy of putting on a pair of glasses. So he describes to all his students that plant medicine is very much like that if you are going to go and get a pair of glasses, you wouldn't just pick any glasses. You also wouldn't get them properly fitted, right? You would not get them properly fitted. You wouldn't just grab a pair off the shelf, shove them on, and then walk around, because you're likely to not be well fitted or not understand the lenses in them. So it's the same analogy. And then he says, so plant medicine is like this. You've got to get outfitted for it. Then when you put them on, you're not going to read once with them, then take them off, and then go about and expect your vision to have corrected itself. Because we know, those of us who wear glasses, that there is a period of adjustment, and that in fact, with the proper outfitting, preparation, training, and the right glasses, that it does help your perspective. So it's the same with subtle energy meditation. Without understanding what it is, and without having the proper training and preparation, it'd be like just going to a glass shop, not seeking any advice, putting on any pair of glasses there, and then of course, guess what? You'd get headaches. You'd have all those same kinds of. You'd get funny vision.
Right.
So
it takes a while for your brain to adjust, right?
Exactly. It's a perfect. I thought it was a lovely analogy. And then the third analogy I wanted to give was one that Mingyur Rinpoche's often brought up, and many of the lamas that I've studied with have brought up in respect of subtle energy meditation. So they refer to the fact that originally when people did training in these paths, that they went through basic vehicles, in fact, what are called the yanas, and they would go through 9 yanas or 9 different levels of training. Now, this is, and when you see the levels of training, you'll understand the sutras, the tantras, and then the higher yogas were always done in a progression. You didn't just jump straight to awake awareness and say, oh, okay, I'll do a glimpse and I know what it's all about. You would actually progress through these 9 levels. So at the basic levels, you would go through what is known as Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha and Mahayana, which are all where you begin to learn about impermanence and emptiness and compassion. So I'm oversimplifying it here, but fundamentally, those are the foundational yanas. And then you go through the tantric vehicles, which is the Kriya vehicle, the Upa vehicle, and the yoga vehicles. And they were all about tantric action and application. And then at the last 3 were known as Maha, Anu, and Ati. And for many Westerners, Ati, when they're doing awake awareness, they're looking at that highest yoga practice. But in fact, Anu Yogi or Anu Yoga is what is known as what we know as the subtle energy meditation. So it's considered in that final part of the path. And that's the main practice is working with energy, with subtle energies, particularly with prana, bindu, and nadi. So the winds and the energies and the life force and focus on certain spots and energy centers. So that would be considered as prior to Ati Yoga, or what we know in the West as awake awareness, when we're often talking about these awareness practices and being able to abide in awake awareness 24/7. It was only after having a really deep foundational practice in the subtle winds, prana, nadis, and the energy centers, and understanding what that was all about and knowing how that would affect your subtle energy body. So in the Dzogchen Mahamudra practices that I've done with the Dalai Lama and Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche and Mingyur Rinpoche over some 30, 40 years now, the preliminary practices are all about energy and winds. And in fact, in Dzogchen, for example, which is considered Ati Yoga or the highest part of the path of Vajrayana practice, you actually begin the whole series of Dzogchen practices with preliminary yoga energy practices, understanding the subtle energies and winds through a whole variety of different subtle energy practices. And so Mingyur Rinpoche, when people in the practices that as we're training, when I've been on retreats with him, and different people bring up, just like people have done in the Heart Mind Alchemy Lab and in groups where they say, oh, I'm seeing visions, or I'm getting overwhelmed by this, or, so he'll guide them right back to the preliminary practices and say, okay, so just do something, start to work with the energy, ground it, then stand in the posture, a little bit like many of the ways that we ground and then stand to actually feel where are you feeling that? Can you actually ground it out of the head? Because quite often it's just simply because you've drawn a lot of energy up into the head and you're overwhelmed by these very new sensations.
And we're already so overly head-centered in our culture and overly inundated with information processing in the head. And we have too much energy in the head to begin with, right? So these foundational grounding exercises are absolutely essential.
Exactly. So I've been present to that over many, many years, and just the extraordinary levels of training that monks and nuns, for example, go through, whether it's in Christian mystical traditions or Tibetan traditions or any of the ones that I've been part of, the yogic traditions. When I consider Kriya Yoga, for example, with Yogananda, there is a long period of time where you work with really simple practices first before you ever get to Kriya Yoga and starting to raise subtle energy in the spine. So they really carefully ground the student in an understanding of basic energy practice. What are the chakras? What are the winds? How do you deal with the life force? How do you work with the breath?
And they do a lot with physical practice, right? With contracting, relaxing the muscles and
totally,
and grounding the body. And there's a whole, I remember years ago when I did the the Kriya lessons from Self-Realization Fellowship, I think there was maybe a year of lessons before you even approached the Kriya breathing.
Exactly.
Right? It was a whole sequence of practices and lessons that you were to ground in and acclimate to and adjust to, prepare your body for these practices that come after.
Totally. Yogananda set up a whole series of energization exercises that he did every morning prior to, I still do them. They're a series of, as you said, they are really tensing, contracting and relaxing the muscles and learning how to do that, so that in fact what you're learning to do is how to work with subtle energy in your body and not just simply go straight into a practice where you're raising energy without the body being well prepared. Just in the same way as you wouldn't run in your 100-meter race cold, right? You do a lot of warm-ups. There's no reason why you shouldn't consider any of these really profound spiritual practices, because I think that's the other thing we do in the West. We want the shortcut. We want to jump straight to the end and just go to a teacher who's going to show us a pointing out practice or a mystical practice or a Kundalini practice, without recognizing that the traditions they came from had years and years of really deep and profound preparation.
I think that's really part of our consumer culture, right? Is that we're used to just, oh, I want that, I'm going to buy it. Now I have it, right? And practice doesn't work that way. Practice is something that unfolds over time through consistency and through mastering the foundations. And we're in such a rush to go on to the next practice and the next practice. Oh, I got that one now. Now I collected that one. Now I'm going here. Now I want the higher version. Now I want, and there's really not that systematic dedication to establishing the foundations, doing a daily practice once or twice a day, and then refreshing that throughout the day, and following this series of steps like we've outlined in subtle energy meditation, to do this in a way that is natural, that unfolds easily, gently. This energy is who we are on that layer of our being, right? So it's already flowing, it's already there. And I think in a lot of times what happens is people try to make it happen, try to feel it, try to push it real hard. And there are some teachers out there, and really popular ones right now, who really tell you to really feel it and force it and breathe it hard and contract and hold your breath hard. And yeah, if you're not prepared for that, that's like the 100-meter dash. If you're doing the 100-meter dash and you haven't been doing the training to do that, that's could overwhelm your body and could really put you in a state that you're not prepared to deal with. And when you do the foundations, the subtle energy practice happens easily because the flow is already happening in this body, heart, mind system that we're living in. All we're doing is becoming aware of it through interoception and recognizing and allowing that flow that's already there. And that's really a gentle and effortless practice. And it happens slowly over time. I think another thing, and this is pointed out in this paper, is that a lot of these overwhelming experiences happen, yes, from people trying too hard and forcing it, but also when people are in these intensive retreats. And really, you shouldn't be going on a 10-day intensive retreat until you have a really good foundation in practice, right, Stephen? And a lot of times people are thrown into these retreats and they're doing meditations all day long, and it's overwhelming the system. The brain, body, heart, and mind have to acclimate to that kind of thing. A retreat is a really serious step in your practice, and it can be wonderful and take you to a new level. And it should be preceded by a strong foundation of practice.
I do agree. I remember Mingyur Rinpoche talking about that, saying how his father insisted that he'd done all these levels of training before he went on his first long retreat. And then, of course, he, as he so beautifully describes, the anxiety that he struggled with in those first retreats. So he had a lot of energy come up that he had to deal with over that period of time. And he said that he realized, the importance of the emphasis his father had placed on preparation and also what can come up in those retreat situations. So I think that's a particularly, it's a good thing to bear in mind, that we often do jump into taking a particular energy exercise we've just learned and repeating it over and over and over again, instead of gently, naturally, easily, and effortlessly acclimatizing ourselves and our consciousness and our bodies to it, so that we, just like glasses, that we learn to wear it and we learn to develop really clear perception as a result. Because ultimately that's what we want, right? We're wanting happiness and clarity and openness and love, and we want those really basic things. So if you're jumping headfirst into everything, and this is where people need to take a close look at their own habitual responses in life, because if you're a person who tends to jump in and do everything to excess, then you're going to find that that's probably going to play out in your meditation practice as well. So if you have the ups and downs of relationships, the ups and downs in jobs, and then you jump into meditation, then you find you got ups and downs in your meditation, then it's probably reflecting back to you exactly what life is telling you. And that is, you've got to slow down to begin with. You've got to find that natural, effortless, and easeful point of being that just allows you to relax. Some of the most key points of all meditation practice are just simply to relax,
yes,
and just be at ease with the practice that you've chosen.
Exactly. And that's why in our course that we teach, the first two inner skills are being able to turn inwards through interoception. So start to get used to feeling inside of your body. It takes a while to start to awaken those inner senses, and there's specific cues we use for that. And then mindfulness. So developing mindfulness is essential because it enables us to relate to anything that happens, no matter what happens, from a place of calmness and equanimity and curiosity, compassion, self-kindness, right? So that attitude is essential in practice. And so that no matter what happens, you may experience an old memory that just comes out of nowhere, that you just can mindfully observe that and be present with that and be kind and compassionate to yourself when something that feels challenging comes up, right? So these two foundational skills, again, when we teach the course, it's natural for people to just want to jump over and think, oh, well, let's get on to that. I heard about that light, love, and peace practice. I want to get to that one, right? That's where the energy is rising and then expanding, and I'm feeling the universe. And yeah, that's a wonderful thing. And it's predicated on these foundational skills of developing the ability to sense inside, sense these sensations, and approach whatever happens with this attitude of mindfulness. And then we have these 7 steps that people go through, right, Stephen, where first there's the preparation of your body, as we've been talking about, your environment, setting a sacred space, and your intention, knowing what your intention is for the practice and bringing that intention forward at the very beginning of your practice. And then initiating your practice through posture and relaxation and positive energy cues. So a lot of people kind of jump over those and want to get on to the exciting thing of feeling that big energy or feeling that sensation that they've heard about and they're looking for. But these foundation of posture cues, where you're grounding through your feet, you're softening through your hands, you're feeling the upright spine, you're breathing this sense of calm and happiness. Really, the whole practice is summarized in that one practice, right,
Agreed.
Stephen? In that breath of calm happiness, where you feel the inflow of energy, and then you feel the pause of rest and letting things be, and then you have the outflow and the letting go, and then the pause of rest and being with what is, and presence, right? It's all right there in that breath. And the whole practice really is summarized in those foundations. And yet, those foundations are often overlooked.
I do agree, Kevin. The foundations, those simple foundations, especially, positive energy and posture. I was very present this morning to the fact I was watching the BBC. That's one of my habits, like the Dalai Lama's habit. He likes the BBC, and I always thought, oh, well, if he enjoys it, it must be good. So I got that subscription to the BBC a long time ago, and they were speaking this morning about how dementia is forecast to triple the number. Currently, it's around 50 million worldwide, and they're forecasting that it's going to increase to 150 million, and they meaning the Alzheimer's Institute and all the science, the universities that are involved in Alzheimer and dementia research, and they're forecasting it to triple to 150 million by 2050, based on the fact that we have a sedentary lifestyle. So this speaks to how important posture and energy cues are. Also based on the fact that there is a greater prevalence of diabetes, and also because at the moment there is a greater propensity for obesity in our population. Now, just those simple things really speak to how important our diet, our preparation, our posture cues, and positive energy. If people could bring those positive energy cues, I think those in particular, mindfulness and positive energy, they're so simple. But as you said, the heart of the practice is actually right there. If you could do that multiple times a day, instead of getting dragged into social media and people's opinions and all the stresses of daily life, you would actually energize those pathways in your brain. You'd encourage those neurons to make the connection that you're energizing your body and your brain and your heart and your gut with this powerful positive energy often, because that whole research that is pointing to the challenges we're facing with this sedentary lifestyle, with poor diet, with poor exercise habits, with even the outlook on the world. They were doing research into the depression and so on caused around the pandemic, not just the pandemic itself, but the effects of the pandemic on people, on their loved ones. And it again speaks to the fact that we don't need just a worldwide vaccine if that's what people think is going to solve it. It's not about a worldwide vaccine. We need worldwide positive energy. We need the kind of mindfulness that's going to help us to be aware of what really is happening to humanity, that some of these longer term studies are actually pointing to. That's the real pandemic. It's not the virus itself. And the virus itself points towards what we're missing. And I think that's one of the crucial things about the wisdom in it.
And when you are, say, going back to breathing calm happiness, when you are in that state of both relaxation and vitality and positive energy, that energizes the body and brain, so you feel like going out and exercising, so that you aren't making reactive food choices. So you're not running around trying to find the thing that's going to make me happy, because you realize that the happiness is right here, right now, in this simple breath of calm happiness. I don't need to go out there and search and seek and try to collect all this stuff. It's right here. It's right now. It's available every moment. And when we're feeling that, when we're experiencing that throughout the day, that is life transforming.
Yeah, when I was thinking as you were speaking about that, about yin and yang, the balance between both the masculine and the feminine, the power of the balance of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. That, again, going back to some of Andrew Newberg's studies, that he often points out that in mystical research, where they've been able to conduct studies while people have been in those states, that they've noticed this balance of both this high arousal and these feelings of bliss, but equally this really deep peace And I do think, right at the heart of calm happiness, the happy, positive energy, but the deep calm of peace, that balance in our system is what we're looking for. And that's backed up by some beautiful research from many different neuroscience sources, that when we bring this into balance, we find this. That's why some of the breathing techniques are so helpful to keep. And the simple calm happiness is speaking to that simple balance between peace and bliss, or calm and happiness.
That's really the foundation, right?
Right.
So
there.
let's go into just a simple couple-minute practice together with everyone here, and talking about this foundation of grounding and breathing, calm happiness. So let's go into that together now. So if you can find yourself, if you're in a spot where you can sit in a comfortable, quiet place and have your feet firmly on the ground, so that can really enhance grounding by having the soles of your feet flat on the floor. And you can sit forward so you really feel weight in your feet. Rest your hands, palms cupped in your lap in a receptive, soft, open posture. Sit nicely upright. And then lightly close your eyes. Focus down into the soles of your feet and really awaken sensory awareness in the soles of your feet. So feel the contact with the ground, with the earth underneath you. Feel the stillness and the deep peace of the earth. Allow your feet and your toes to soften and relax. As if your feet are melting down into this deep stillness and peace in the earth. The energy in subtle energy meditation wells up from the earth itself. This deep peace and stillness in the earth. So see if you can feel that stillness now moving up from the earth through your feet and your legs and your hips and your lower abdomen. Deep sense of being rooted and grounded in the present moment, supported by the earth, fed by the energy, the peace of the earth itself. And soften and open your hands, releasing any tension in your hands, your shoulders, your neck. And let all the energy in your head just flow down and drain down into your lower abdomen. Become aware of the sensations of breathing in your lower abdomen, the lower dantian, this vital energy center, which is connected to and grounded by the earth. So feel the connection of your lower abdomen through your legs into the earth. As you breathe in, feel the energy of the earth flowing into the lower abdomen. And as you breathe out, allow energy to flow from your abdomen down into the earth. Breathe in, feel a gentle expansion as that deep, peaceful energy flows into your lower abdomen. And then as you exhale, allow the energy to flow down from your abdomen down into the earth. And feel the deep calm as you breathe in. A pause of rest. And then breathe out, feeling happiness flowing down back to the earth, sending happiness to the earth for the gift of peace. Breathe in calm. Breathe out happiness, gratitude, down into the earth. As you breathe in, the lower abdomen fills up. There's deep peace and calm. There's a pause of rest, of being present. And happiness and gratitude flows down to the earth. And then just rest again in that feeling of the earth beneath you. Let all the energy flow down into the earth and feel the support and ground of the earth. Anytime you feel overwhelmed, you're overthinking, over-energized, overstressed, just focus deep down into the earth. Feel your feet on the earth. Breathe deeply in your lower abdomen. Feel the flow of energy from the earth into the abdomen, from your abdomen down into the earth. And then slowly open your eyes. And with your eyes open, continue to feel the sensation of grounding in your lower abdomen, your legs down into the earth. What would it be like to move through life with this foundation of deep calm and inner peace, this grounded, rooted presence? And record that feeling in your body. So you bring it with you and share it with others and can return to it anytime. Consider taking moments during your day when you just simply sit and close your eyes and take that deep, grounded, rooted breath. So, Stephen, I'll pass to you if you have any concluding thoughts for today.
Kevin, well, thank you for that beautiful practice. That was a wonderful blessing in the day. And I think I just reinforce exactly what you've said, that the more often that you can bring this calm happiness into your day and remind yourself that that's who you truly are, that you actually are this awareness, this limitless, vast, and eternal awareness of calm happiness, that is actually your reality. When you consider the amount of time that you might give to other things, to social media, to trying to get to this date, to this schedule, to this opportunity, and when you think how little time we give to cultivating these positive experiences and positive states, and quite often it's just whenever we fit the meditation in. If you can make your entire day your meditation so that you bring the mind and the heart and the belly home again and again, as often as you can, just as Kevin said, just one simple breath done many times throughout the day. So if you find those points where you can bring that power of awareness to these special moments in your day where you can bring calm happiness, then you're really open to that opportunity throughout your life.
Then every moment becomes that special moment.
Every moment.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Thank you.
And thank
Kevin.
you all for listening. Thank you for your practice. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.